Welcome to Cybersecurity Growth, a show for aspiring and existing cybersecurity leaders. I am Sean Valley.
And I am Garrett Gross.
Welcome to our latest episode titled One Click, One Rogue Agent. And today's agenda, AgentForger, a phishing link that spawns a rogue AI agent inside your org, the EY breach, how a help desk platform leaked client tax data, and we're going to talk about Hacker Summer Camp, how you security leaders should work Black Hat and work DEF CON. That's what we're up to today. Welcome, everybody. Garrett, good to be back.
Hey, good to be back as well. I'm liking the new format. I'm liking the new cadence.
Yeah, same here. By the way, first off, we took like 7 months off, but we are doing back-to-back shows, 2 weeks.
I can't believe this. I don't know that we've ever done this.
No,
Great.
Back-to-back. It's amazing. All right, well, a little word from your sponsor here. The Cybersecurity Growth Platform is live, full access to our self-paced course series, templates to build a robust security program fast, and a community of top global cyber leaders. Courses like the first 100 days of a CISO and framework deep dives are built for immediate results. Plans for every budget with free trials, and every course counts towards CPEs for certifications like your CISSP. Try a plan today at cybersecuritygrowth.com.
At some point, we got to add I'm not only the president, but I'm also a client.
And then show my Rogaine shampoo.
I wasn't going to do that, to be honest. Trust me, if I spin this chair around, it's going to be a different view.
I don't know what we're talking about here. I don't know. Let's get into it. We get so our new format, basically 3 topics of the week. We have those 3 topics. We just queued them up. And Garrett, why don't you get us started? What are we talking about first here?
Okay, so AgentForger. This is a one phishing click, one click on a phishing email deployed an entire attacker-controlled AI agent inside ChatGPT workspace. So if your employees have authorized ChatGPT or, Sean, really any AI platform to touch your email, to touch calendar, and to touch cloud storage, your attack surface now includes agents nobody on your team created.
Yeah, this is something to keep in mind. So this article that we stumbled on came from businesswire.com, right? And the interesting thing, Zenity Labs, if you're not familiar with Zenity Labs, go check them out. Zenity Labs published this info, I don't know, the 23rd, like a week or 2 ago. This crafted ChatGPT URL, right? So if you think about a phishing email with the links that bring you to the fake Microsoft login screens, well, this one here brought someone to a ChatGPT URL, and it silently built, authorized, and deployed an AI agent in the company's environment. No confirmation prompts were needed, right? And the agent then started doing what the attacker wanted versus the employee. This is new world, folks. It's same old thing, like phishing emails, but now with links that are taking you to your LLM.
Yeah, instead of harvesting your credentials, it's now building an entire attack platform on your front lawn. Well, think about it. Have you ever run Claude on your personal Mac, just from the agent itself, you install?
Well, for example, I use Claude Cowork, and so Claude Cowork, for those of you, there's Claude Chat, right? That we all know, like ChatGPT. There's Claude Code for the coders, and then there's Claude Cowork. There are 3 separate products. Claude Cowork is the most unique of them all because it's basically a local virtual machine that runs on your computer, where the other ones are more cloud focused with a desktop client. So yeah, to answer your question, I use Claude Code every day, Claude Cowork every day.
Well, and so, and you're aware of this because you've asked it to, but think about folks that are not aware of this, how pervasive is Claude now in your personal computer now that you've authorized this?
It's extremely pervasive, right?
It's
and of course, I've prompted it to have access to my Microsoft 365 environment, my Google Workspace environment, because I use both. I prompted it to be able to see my calendars, to read my email, to look at my documents. I occasionally give it access to update documents, but generally it's more of a read. So it definitely has the access to do read of a lot of things. Very pervasive.
And just to be sure, you created completely new identities for this agent to do all this stuff, right?
What do you mean by that?
You're not using your personal credentials to let Claude run all this stuff on your personal machine,
I
right?
mean, I say, hey, Claude, you need to open up my email and read my email, buddy. You got this.
Okay, so I'm kind of setting the stage here. We're inviting this in because we
Yeah.
know exactly what it's doing. We're keeping a close watch on this. I mean, again, I'm not saying that we're 100% unhackable, but like we're pretty much aware of what's going on. Think about your average user that is deploying this in your corporate environment that you're allowing, because there are, for instance, the corporation that I work for, we have a very restrictive policy. It's pretty much like you cannot use AI unless you get an exception. You get an exception and, provide you assign the proper controls, you can do whatever you want. But there are a lot of organizations out there that are just like, do whatever you want, AI to the limits, which I don't think that is the right answer, because guess what happened? That forged agent inherited every enterprise integration that that employee had already granted. I'm talking email, calendar. It crawled all of their cloud storage, all of their collaboration tools. And also, because they had user permissions, they could exfil the data. They could harvest credentials. They could pull MFA tokens down and then persist after the fish.
It's
What do they do about it?
it, one, it's terrifying, right? To realize like we're using these tools. These are how we are becoming more productive, and this is only in the last year to 2 years at most for the advanced folks.
That's
Um,
right.
so this is something that is happening. And once people realize these tools are available and companies allow employees to use these, this is the new world. This is what is happening in front of us. So what's interesting, OpenAI found out about this, right? They acknowledged that this occurred. They saw this happening. They found out about it in about a day, and they helped fix the problem within 4 days before it was publicly disclosed. So something, OpenAI is in the news a lot this week for many different purposes. This is just one of them because we had to grab some article, and I thought let's grab one that not everyone else is talking about.
Well, because everyone's talking about the Chad G or the OpenAI and Hugging Face. Like I wrote an op-ed on it too. So like it's kind of interesting that OpenAI is actually being praised for doing the right thing for once, because they have not historically
Yeah.
been that comprehensive from a security perspective.
Yeah, and I grabbed this because it's different from the Hugging Face story, but at the same time, the Hugging Face story is incredible. Wait, your AI broke the boundaries and went out and started hacking companies, and then come to realize too, some of the more recent news on that is like, well, actually, an employee, allowed this thing to get into certain areas. It's
That's
Garrett, I know
right.
you've been digging into it.
Details keep leaking out to where it's like, oh my God, it's actually so much worse than we realized. Well, to land the plane on this one, listen, you as a security leader, you need to ask yourself, do you have an inventory of what AI agents exist in your organization? Do you have an inventory of everything? And I mean everything that they're authorized to access. Don't feel bad if you can't, because most shops can't answer that today. But as I think I've probably said on this podcast before, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. So identify whose job it is to validate and record down agent identity governance. Is that, I mean, Sean, is that AIM? Is that SecOps? Is that a new function?
It's a question that every security leader needs to work with. And it's usually security and IT work together to answer that question. It'll be a different story at your place than it is from my place.
That's right. All right. I want to hear the juicy stuff. What do you got?
So, all right, next one, we're talking about Ernst & Young, EY, one of the big consulting companies. So there was an EY breach, if you haven't heard about it. A help desk platform leaked client tax data, and this goes back to the group Shiny Hunters, and so they're involved in this, and now they're looking for some money to get out of this. So this came from a Bleeping Computer article. Thought this was interesting. Asking yourself, does your ITSM and your IT support tool, is there a shadow data lake in here? Are there ticket attachments with sensitive data? Think about this. Think about like your help desk tools, right? Where employees email your help desk like, hey, I can't log into this application. I need help. And here's a screenshot that shows you the system I can't log into, right? Your IT ticketing system, whatever it may be, it probably has a big data lake in it with tickets that have been submitted with sensitive information, like I mentioned, screenshots, but also employees saying like, hey, I can't log into this system, and here's my username and password, because humans are humans and they email things they don't realize they probably shouldn't. And then also, is your IT system like run by a third party, or is there a third party tool that's involved in your IT system? Anyways, long story short, that's what came down to this EY issue, was that an IT system was infiltrated, and data containing client information that was tracked has now been exposed, and shiny hunters are saying, hey, if you don't pay us, because now that we stole this data from you, if you don't pay us by, I think it's today, July 31st, as we're sitting down here, we're gonna start leaking this data publicly.
To answer your question, like ignore the term data lake. Yes, your IT support ticketing system contains a ton of data that you do not want to get out. As someone who has worked in support, I have built support, and now I run a support function. Yes, there is tons of data out there that you do not want seeing the light of day. And most people, I would say most people, have their support software run by a third party. It's actually like the very, very, very large institutions that have already invested a ton of time and money and resources into their own on-prem support infrastructure. Some of them are even migrating to cloud-based stuff just because it's cheaper and easier.
Yeah, and so that's something to realize. It's happening in a lot of places. Third parties, cloud-based. If you're not running it, I mean, if you're still running yourself, probably using a cloud-based service versus an on-prem service, and then many cases just outsourcing some of that and
Well,
running it by a third party as well.
and it's the age-old conundrum of like the folks that are small and well, the folks that are big enough to withstand attacks like these, they probably do have on-prem, safeguarded support systems, but like the smaller shops, the startups, the folks that actually do not are not able to withstand these types of attacks, they're probably leveraging some sort of cloud-based support system. So it's that, the folks that are primed to get hit the hardest are the ones that won't be able to recover.
Yeah, and things to keep in mind from this, like this actually occurred a few months back, right? This is something that occurred in the March and April timeframe. We just learned about it recently, and the title is around client tax data, so things like social security numbers, financial information, card information, and the I believe it was a security organ EY like identified this or parties they worked with, mid to late April, and then they started notifying their clients in a 3-month window. So they analyzed this one for quite some time, from my understanding, according to this article, before they started notifying folks. They took a long time before they let folks know, like, hey, your data has been exposed and, you should do something about it. So that's also something to note. Like, hey, you guys got to remember, I know we all need to do our diligence before we scare our customers and clients, but at the same time, looking out for their best interest. If something happens in your org and you've seen data of your customers, your clients, your partners that have leaked, let them know as quick as you can so they can go and try to fix things. Don't worry about the fact that you're going to be in the news. You gotta look out for your partners, your stakeholders.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's secondary. And the uncomfortable part about all this is I don't think anyone really considers their help desk database or, ticket queue as the crown jewels. But again, like we've already said, those tickets accumulate exactly what attackers are looking for. Credentials, attachments that have sensitive data, in this case, tax preparation documentation. So the question you should be asking yourself is, when's the last time you did an analysis and a data map of your ticketing platform? Because I'll admit that when I've done assessments, that's not top of my list.
Yeah, if you think about us doing our third-party risk assessment of our core vendors, this could be considered a core vendor, maybe not. If it isn't, maybe this article may help you think, hey, maybe we should make this a core vendor. But to be honest, when we do our assessments, like we're checking our vendors' compliance docs, their regulatory docs, their SOC 2s, et cetera. And maybe we're reviewing their high-level architecture docs if they provide those to us. But how deep are you digging, right? And that's the thing. Like if a company like EY, big company like this, world-class organization like this, who probably has some good practices in place, if they got popped like this, what's the realistic state for you and I? It helps us realize, like, hey, revisit your third-party risk program and think about what data can go into these environments and try to learn a little bit more about how that data is protected. And maybe you start creating new practices around, well, maybe we don't want to put data into certain data into these systems.
Right.
And you add,
Right.
you start educating your folks around, like, hey, don't put this stuff into the IT systems, and you keep that as part of your recurring awareness training, something like that.
Well, and like, we bag on one of our shared former employers quite often, but we actually had a very strict policy in sales engineering of any sensitive data that you're sending across. It goes through the secure file transfer. It does not go in a support ticket, doesn't go in a sales ticket, whatever. So, and the other thing I'll mention here is EY is one of those companies that will bounce back from this and be just fine.
Yeah.
But like, imagine that your regionally known tax preparation group got popped with this. They're likely gone.
Yeah, it's gonna crush them. Yeah, and that was a good point that you mentioned. Do you have two different systems? One which is your everyday ticketing system, and then one which is your sensitive
That's right.
information system. There's a potential workaround. Now, I have been Garrett and I've been in an environment where there were two different systems like this, and there have been cases where the second system got popped, which is, you know, a reality. Software is software, and you know there are gaps. But if you do have a practice where your everyday content goes through one, and maybe your more sensitive goes through another, and there's certain different security practices in place for that, just things to keep in mind. But there's no one right answer here, but it's, you know, helping us help you have conversations and think about what are some things we can take away from this stuff in the news.
I'm cynical, so this will never happen. But wouldn't it be cool if this was a forcing function that would make people think, well, where else is sensitive data hiding that I don't think of?
Yeah,
that would be a cool self-assessment data.
and of course,
But anyway,
and of course I go like, well, I mean, let's go look at your Jira, let's go look at your Confluence, like things we've talked about this before because we've lived it before too.
oh my God, yeah.
Anyways, all right, let's move on. We got one more topic for the day, and this is an exciting one. Hold on, because Garrett, you're
I'm
going to
excited.
introduce us, and then I guess we're going to talk about who we're wearing all at the same time.
Absolutely. So the big topic of the week, or I don't know, the big topic, the one I'm most excited about, all these breaches and security stuff, whatever. Hacker summer camp is upon us.
I feel like this is like really on the nose. And I'm wearing my black hat.
Your black hat. That's like www.com. Oh, that's great.
I actually do not like wearing this hat forward. It just doesn't. I don't like the look of it forward. But backwards, I'm a big fan of it in reverse.
I mean, I'm your friend. It looks awful forward. Like, don't ever wear that again.
Yeah. No, I only do it. I do this once a year just because of this. And then, like, I mean, hat to the back, I'm good.
Yeah, you look like you're about to crush like a beer league softball tournament.
That's exactly it.
Like,
that's it.
That's great. That's great.
Crushing Narragansetts or PBRs, you know.
So, okay. Vegas week is happening right now. Folks that I know are showing up already. They're doing trainings that, you know, we've talked about this before, but if you're not familiar with Hacker Summer Camp, it is a week-long, well, more than a week-long event in Vegas that started out as DEF CON way back in the day, back when I was a script kiddie running around doing things that we definitely won't talk about. DEF CON was a place to go and learn about cool new hacks, cool new exploits, learn how to solder, learn how to, you know, you like to build malware and you want to learn how to, you know, solder or something like that. Like, it was a great experience. It is now transformed over the 30 something years that DEF CON has been around.
It's number 34. According to this, number 34. I don't even remember the numbers anymore, but we're at 34.
I can't believe it. I think I started going in like DEF CON 7 when I was still in high school. But anyway, it is a week long. You've got, starting off the week, you've got B-Sides LV, which B-Sides is the B-Side conference. It's the Las Vegas chapter, but it's kind of become its own con in and of itself, which is really good for newer folks entering in security. You've got Black Hat, which is basically corporate America's answer to DEF CON. This is actually a conference created by Dark Tangent, who, you know, spawned DEF CON as an answer to, hey, let's get all the, you know, I think the story goes, there's a bunch of vendor interest in DEF CON. Black Hat was created as kind of an answer to that. And now that is the corporate security conference that's right in the middle. Sean, that's the one you want to go to. You want to give a little bit of intel on Black Hat?
Yeah, I mean, Black Hat is the one. If you are an up-and-coming security leader or like an active security engineer and you want to learn from experts in the field, you want to go to Black Hat. There's a couple great things about it. One, there's the talks that happen there. There's several tracks. I don't know the number off the top of my head this year, but there's usually 6 or 7 tracks. There will be 100+ talks that you want to go to that you can't go to. It's that large. It's that informed. It's massive. And it's incredible too, because the talks are experts in the field talking about expert things they've done that they've never shared before. So if you are up and coming as in an engineering role or in a leadership role, and you want to learn from experts in the field when you're saying like, I don't know enough, You go to
Yeah.
these talks and you buy the pass to go to the talks. You will learn a lot of great information. Then there's the vendor hall,
I was
which
about to say, yeah.
is enormous. Like, I think if you spend maybe 65 seconds, I'll get the actual math next time we get together. With each vendor, you could get to every vendor in like a 3 or 4 day period, but you can't spend any more than like 65 seconds with each vendor. There's that many that show up. What's
Yeah.
really great about the vendor hall is if you are in a leadership role and your job is to meet with your vendors, just to check in with them, see what they're working on, see what new capabilities they're doing, you can meet with them all at once there. You schedule a
Right.
meeting and meet with them. If you are shopping for something new, you're like, look, we've been using ArcSight for the last 20 years, and I'm thinking about maybe replacing that with something more modern. Well, you shop all the players right there.
Yep.
In that in itself is great to like learn the capabilities. Now, granting, it's all the marketing teams that are, blowing smoke, but at the same time, you get to go and like peel back the smoke and realize like, hey, what
Well,
capabilities am I trying to, what am I trying to solve for my business, and who's out there? And you've got them all in this room, and you can scan around.
and if you are on more of the technical side and you are kind of getting the, marketing stuff, they do staff. I mean, I was always drugged to Black Hat every single year. They do staff it with, and I'm not purporting myself as a smart guy in the room, but the person who actually works with all the technology, they bring those people there as well. You probably just have to like dig in and ask for them. They'll set up a demo or whatever. But to your point, Sean, it's also a great opportunity to, if you're new in the industry, see what the vendor landscape looks like, because like they're all there. So yeah, Black Hat is definitely a fun time. That's really where all the vendor parties happen. Like I talk about party crashing. I don't really do that much anymore, which is kind of sad because I kind of index more on DEF CON, but party crashing is fun. And you can certainly, if you're shopping for security software or security services or whatever, make that known and you'll be wined and dined to your heart's content. I
And then
guarantee.
there's one other piece. This is Black Hat related, but it's also DEF CON related. It's kind of related to just being there, which is these people you have connected with online over the past year for whatever reason. Maybe you've built a connection on LinkedIn, or you're following someone on Threads or X and you're like really enjoying what they're talking about, or you've read some articles. Those people will likely be here.
They
And
will be
so
there.
so,
Yeah.
hitting them up and saying, "Hey, where and when can we meet up?" Shake your hand and say hi, like meet in person, grab a coffee, just chat for a few minutes, like in, IRL. The human connections are very real there. If you don't plan ahead, it's tough to do the human connections because there's 20,000, 30,000 people wandering by you, and it's a sea of humans. But if you make the time to, schedule some meetups, right, with some folks, either whether it's going to one of the parties or like a one-on-one coffee meetup in the Starbucks in Mandalay Bay or something like that, there's something great about, having those in real life connections. So a lot of our friends are looking for work. If you're going to either of these events, maybe you're not because they're expensive to go to, but if you are going to these events, take the opportunity to go reach out to some folks, say, hey, let's meet for coffee, so you can, build your network and connect with folks. And for those of you who are actively employed and loving what you're doing, but you want to go connect with some people you've chatted with online, reach out to them ahead of time. Everybody's excited to say hi to other people who are in this space.
Well, and it's daunting too, because DEF CON has changed fundamentally from what I used to go to, where it was a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 or a couple thousand people, to yeah, now over 30,000 people. So I couldn't imagine being a new security person going into that space and going like, well, who do I meet and who do I talk to and how do I do that? I have an answer for you. There is a noob village that this year I will actually be participating in. I kind of got in late, so I think I'm just going to be there and like be greeting folks and talking to people. That there is a village in the DEF CON villages that you can go to. It's not a pejorative. It is the noob village. If you're a noob, it is for you. Go up there. We will tell you where to go. We will show you who to talk to. We'll probably introduce you to some very cool people. So no matter your skill set or your experience level, DEF CON is definitely something that I encourage everyone who's in the security field to go to.
That's nice. I was just, I see you're wearing your DEF CON polo. I got a Black Hat polo on here. So
On
represent.
brand.
Yeah, represent.
What's funny is I would never wear the DEF
Okay.
CON. Like I pick wild and insane things to wear to DEF CON, but like, I wear this to a board meeting or put this on for a webinar or something like
Yep.
that.
Yep. Mine is the 20th anniversary of Black Hat, which I should check. I don't know what anniversary we're on now, but I think we're
No,
5 years later or something like that. Something.
yeah, it's like the 26th year of Black Hat or something like that. So, you kind of have to think about this. Like, Sean, do you have any biggest rookie mistakes, kind of how you have approached, attending these once you became a leader. Because for me, it's changed fundamentally. Like
Yeah.
I pride myself in being technical and being hands-on. So I still try to get into it. But to your point, there's only a handful of things that I even have time for these days because I am there primarily as an enabler for the business that I worked for. And that's what's paying the bills. And then I go to learn at DEF CON as more of a, I mean, it's an investment in me and it's a business viable thing, but it's more of a fun thing for me. But like my DEF CON experience is nothing like what it was 20 years ago.
Yeah,
So
if I think about my Black Hat and B-sides, Las Vegas experiences, and from a new perspective, like interestingly, how I got into these was building content for an Android hacking course, like building and delivering content for a course because someone reached out and said, "Hey, I know you're working in this space," which I was back then. You want to help me build a course and deliver it at Black Hat? I'm like, that sounds awesome. And then a year later, I was working on this iOS hacking tool with a colleague of mine at MITRE, and we got the opportunity to deliver that in shoot, what is it called in Black Hat?
the arsenal.
The Arsenal, yeah, the Black Hat Arsenal, right? So
Yeah.
now these are amazing things I had an opportunity to be a part of, and I don't expect that most people have. I was very fortunate to be kind of pulled into these things. But from a new perspective, going to these first time, Garrett, you asked like, do I have any like, advice or regrets? Yes, there's the most important thing that comes to mind for me is plan ahead. Don't just show
Oh, yeah.
up and plan like, hey, I'm just going to see where it goes, because the truth is you only have a handful of days there, and there are weeks worth of events to go to, right? You're there for days, but there are weeks worth of events. So you have to decide which things you're definitely going to, which things you want to go to, which humans you want to see in person, which people you want to connect with, which events you want to go to, and build your own agenda and calendar. Don't necessarily lock down like, here's my 24 hours of a day and I have it completely mapped out. You want to give yourself some breaks, but you definitely want to map out like the 2 or 3 or 4 must do things in a day. Give yourself some downtime. You are going to walk your Fitbit or whatever you're using on your wrist or phone or whatever is going to track a higher number of steps than it ever has probably in the last year on a daily basis. You are going to look at your step count if you're a nerd like me who does that, and at the end of the day and say, does that say 20, does that say 30,000 steps that I got today? Like, it will. It will say those types of things because the walking is insane. And then the final thing is you are in the desert, and yes, you are indoors a lot, but you are in a dry area, so bring your reusable water bottle, keep that thing topped off, and keep yourself hydrated. Those are the first few things that come to mind.
Just kind of as a response to what you're saying, I would say for first time attendees, maybe pick 1 or 2 things you want to do and that's it. Because what I've found to be very, very helpful for me is while I'm at DEF CON, and keep in mind, I've been going for 28 years now. That sounds so awful. I take notes while I'm at DEF CON of like, well, what have I seen that I want to do next year? What is happening now that like I maybe didn't get to attend? What I want to hit next year. Now, again, if you've been going for 5-10 years, yes, follow Sean's advice. Get a schedule of the things that you want to do. Again, don't lock it down, but definitely have a general idea of what you want to do. But if you're new, I would go in with an open mind of like, I'm just going to experience this. But again, pick 2 or 3 things that you definitely want to see, because here's the problem. Those talks usually have lines that line up for an hour before the talk starts. So you're not going to get into every single talk that you want. The workshops that you probably want to get into, guess what? Those are already sold out. So I would just kind of go with an open mind and, again, take notes for the things that you want to go next year, because if you go to DEF CON, there's a guarantee that you're going to go next year.
That's true. You go once, you get the bug,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're like, I'm going back. I got to figure out how I can afford to go back next year, whether it's on my own dime or whether I, talk to my boss and they help me fund it.
So here's a perspective that I'd like your perspective on. Now that we're at a different stage in our career, Reed, we're old. Black Hat versus DEF CON as a leader.
No, look, I have my hat on backwards. I'm like a young
You're
whippersnapper.
definitely cool. But no, seriously, like we run organizations. Like, where's the actual ROI? Because you need to define that. And whether or not you're cool and you just want your folks to go experience DEF CON, you kind of owe it to them to define the ROI. Are you sending them to vendor meetings? Are you attending exec summits at Mandalay Bay versus just wandering through the DEF CON villages? Sean, should CISOs even attend DEF CON? or do they send the team? Is it more of a black hat thing? Because I think the lines are blurred depending on what type of security leader you are. But Sean, I'd love your take on this.
That's the it depends. That's the number one answer first there
Yeah.
to your question. It depends, right? If I think about it, there is a CISO summit at Black Hat. It's specialized. You have to sign up ahead of time. You have to get approved. You have to be on because there's only room for a couple hundred people, and there are
That's right.
thousands upon thousands that are there. So if you are a security leader, not for this year, but maybe next year, there is a CISO summit, which is basically run by some of the leaders of CISOs out in the world. That's something that if you're a security leader and you want to sit at it's basically, a conference within the conference. So sit at a round table with a bunch of other CISOs and listen to other CISOs talk and talk amongst yourselves and build your relationship with peers. That is an amazing one. Again, only for CISOs who want to get connected with others, not for this year, but for next year, try to figure out how you can get into that.
Yep.
The question of like, hey, should CISOs go to DEF CON or should they just go to Black Hat? And if so, what should they do? Black Hat versus DEF CON, the answers are different. If you're rolling up your sleeves hacker and you want to be that, and learn from other hackers, like go to DEF CON and, get into it with them. If, you that is a path you can take. I don't feel like it's the path that you need to take as a CISO. I think as a CISO, like some of the key things that you need to do is think about what value are you bringing back to the business. You're the leader, right? You're the business leader. What value am I bringing back to my CEO and the organization that
Yep.
employs me, my team, and what does this place do for me? So key things, having that opportunity to speak with the vendors you currently work with and bringing things that again bring value back to your company. So right, you're in security, you're in a very expensive cost center to your company. How do you help improve your costs to your business? Well, talking to your vendors, building the relationship with your vendors, maybe
Yep.
getting an opportunity to get some new capabilities on the cheap because you've got a good relationship with your, vendor relationship person who's there. Like those are things I would think you as a CISO need to do because you're thinking about business value, and the some of the biggest business value is obviously protecting your organization and then
Mhm.
also protecting the revenue of your organization. And since you're an expensive cost center, what's the key thing there? It's like, the amount of money you spend on stuff,
Right.
vendors, software companies, service companies. So getting to know the rest of the market out there. One of the things that's really nice about the vendor area of Black Hat is there's a whole wing of vendors that are the younger ones, not the big names that you know of, but the younger companies, the younger, hungry companies. So if you're open to exploring newer companies that may be a little bit less expensive to try out, because you're an earlier customer, there's risk that comes with younger companies. But if you're interested in like what's the next generation of capabilities, there's a whole
Yep.
wing there. So you can, again, thinking about all of the new risks that you have inherited over the last 12 months as a security leader, do you have a solution for all those risks? Maybe some of the younger vendors have some of those solutions out there because they spun themselves up because they heard about risks and created new capabilities.
Yep.
Um, but sending your team, I think there's value with sending your team. Can you afford to? It's an expensive trip to get to Las Vegas unless you're nearby, but it's expensive to get into the conference, a couple $1,000s for tickets, depending on which ticket you buy. Obviously, there's flights and hotels and all of those things. So it's not a cheap event to go to, but sending your employees, there's things. One, it's you always want to make sure your employees are growing themselves, right? Professional development. So this is an opportunity for professional development for your employees. So sending them to an event like this is one option. It's not the option. Professional development can come by way of watching and listening to podcasts, reading articles, going to, specific training throughout the years, like SANS training or other types of training organizations. Going to Black Hat and or DEF CON is another opportunity of professional development. And what I say to my folks who want to go to Black Hat or, really have this desire, and they're not necessarily sure why, they just know it's a cool thing to do and they want to go to it, and I want to go to Black Hat or DEF CON, I'll give them an agenda. And part of the agenda is, hey, when you come back, you're briefing the whole team. And, what you're doing, the value you're bringing back is sharing some of the things you've learned, which forces you to learn some things, take some notes, and then share what you've learned with the team. So take your new knowledge, share with the team, and now we all get some value from it. And it can get people excited for the back half of the year of like new things they might want to start working on that they hadn't thought about before.
Yep.
And having those like sharing sessions after the event can get the rest of the team hyped up who may not have had an opportunity to go to get excited. So those are just some of the things that cross my mind.
And define that stuff beforehand. You don't want to be asking them for notes after the fact. Set that expectation beforehand, because that's not only good for the folks that you're sending, but also the folks on the finance team or your management, whatever. That way expectations are across the board. But I love that, Sean. Like when you get back, you're going to brief the team. You're going to take your, what you learned from these sessions, and you're going to inform our security backlog. So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else though. And I'm about to do this very similar one. I won't spoil it, but like we always talk about surviving Black Hat, surviving DEF CON, OPSEC while you're there. Make sure to bring your burner phone, your burner laptop, your burner bathing suit. What is this real? Is this all theater? Before we get to that, I would say the real survival is drink water. Pace yourself. If you're not a professional drinker, partier, or just really young, maybe skip the party circuit, hit one or two. You know what I mean? So like, Sean, burner devices. Since the advent of modern smartphones, I haven't brought a burner device to DEF CON. Wait, that's a lie. I bring one every year. Anyway, your turn.
Uh, it's split for me, right? There have been times where I do bring an org I was at, I was like, hey, give me a Chromebook. I'm going to take a Chromebook with me just so I can check email and I can purge the Chromebook when I get back. And it's not my primary machine. I have done that before.
Well, that's the real answer. If you're going to go and you're going to actually do CTFs, you're going to do shady stuff, you're going to hop on DEF CON Open. Yes. Bring a burner laptop, wipe it beforehand and wipe it after.
But like, as an everyday, for me, the everyday going to these events, I'm bringing my work laptop, I'm bringing my work or my personal phone. I'm running it on my, my LTE, my 5G network. I generally won't use Wi-Fi where I don't need to. That's right. But there are, again, I know years ago it was always like, don't ever go on public Wi-Fi, don't ever go on public Wi-Fi. And that came from the days where everything was HTTP and everything was in the clear. There's a lot more that's now, encrypted.
The real advice is, all those Wi-Fi networks that you have remembered in your phone.
Oh yeah.
Like
purge them all.
That is actually the one piece of advice, because if you look every year at the report that the DEF CON IT team puts out, they list all of the spoofed SSIDs that they found. And they're all stuff like Ford 5G, AT&T Wi-Fi hotspot, guest network, stuff like that. So I would certainly, depending on what type of device you use, go in and clear out all those remembered Wi-Fi networks if you plan on bringing this device to Black Hat or DEF CON, because rest assured, there are folks out there. I don't want to put a bunch of fear into everyone, but there are folks out there that still want to get nasty.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us were of that inclination when we were younger, especially when DEF CON was more like.
Hey, there's still younger people out there, Garrett. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean there aren't younger people.
That's what I'm saying. Back in my day, and still today, DEF CON was known as kind of an open warfare, especially if you join the DEF CON Open Wi-Fi. Don't join the DEF CON Open Wi-Fi. That's actually another piece of advice. And sorry to cut you off, Sean. If you want to use Wi-Fi at DEF CON, you actually can. I'm here to tell you, as someone who is the most paranoid person ever, if you want to use Wi-Fi at DEF CON, you actually can. Here's the trick. You have to sign up for it because it is certificate end. They do have a very professionally secured Wi-Fi network, but you have to sign up for it ahead of time. Look on the DEF CON Reddit, look on the DEF CON Discord. They will be announcing Wi-Fi registration maybe like 2 or 3 days before the event. You just sign up, you download the cert, you'll have to put a profile on your phone. That's actually all legit. It seems kind of spooky, but it's not. And that actually allows you to use not the open Wi-Fi at DEF CON, but the cert penned Wi-Fi for sure.
That's good. Yeah. And generally the last few years for me, I bring my personal mobile device, my smartphone. I keep it on Wi-Fi off. I disable Wi-Fi for my time there. And then when I need to connect my laptop, I just hotspot from my phone to my laptop. And that's how I keep myself secured from any Wi-Fi risk. Well, it doesn't eliminate every risk. There's Bluetooth risks. You'll probably hear talk out there about how someone, found the latest hack on Bluetooth and how they found a way.
But like, turn Bluetooth off. You don't need your Apple Watch at DEF CON. Turn Bluetooth off. The real advice here, and I'll land the plane on this one, is just don't do stupid shit at DEF CON. Don't visit your bank website. Don't buy a car at DEF CON. Don't do anything that requires you to submit or receive personal or sensitive information. That is really the answer. If you have to do something like that, go on 5G or go back to your hotel. I mean, even then, that's kind of a shaky, suggestion because maybe that Wi-Fi isn't legit. But like, don't do stupid stuff while on Wi-Fi, and you're good.
Yeah, I just stick on 5G. That's my recommendation. I stick on
That's
5G,
it.
use my phone as a hotspot, and that's how I work. And I bring my regular stuff.
Yep. Yeah. Listen, let's wrap this bad boy up. We did go a little bit long, but that is our nature, and I love it. So, Sean, what are we closing with today?
Yeah. So thinking about some of the topics, right? We talked about 3 things today. Let's talk about like the AI hack that we were talking about earlier, how OpenAI has been in the news with the topic we brought, as well as like just talking about how Hugging Face and OpenAI are in the news together. Like, ask your team for an inventory of every AI agent and integration that's authorized in your enterprise AI tools, right? Ask your team that. Like, what's our inventory look like of AI agents? I would expect many of our listeners will say the answer is, I don't know. We don't know. And so now my advice to you is that is your team's next project, right? Let's create a project of inventorying AI agents and integrations.
Yeah, that's sage wisdom. I'll close with, if you or your team is at Hacker Summer Camp this week, just do one thing intentionally. Okay. Pick one thing that you want to do intentionally. If you're sending folks and you want to read out, ask them to do one thing. Attend this talk and give me a readout. Give me a general readout on the whole experience. Do that. And not only will you have a great time, but you will actually get what you're looking for out of this experience for yourself and for your organization.
I love it. Garrett, you already showed this last week. I'm not going to have you show it again, but I see your what looks like a flower pot behind you, which, you know what, the next time we get together, maybe we'll get a deep dive into what that thing is all about.
Yeah, I can't share with you all of the things it does because that's a surprise for the folks at DEF CON.
So, folks, our plan is we'll get together after Hacker Summer Camp, and
That's right.
We'll debrief and we'll talk about it. So that'll be our plan for when we get together next. Garrett, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. Hey, thanks everybody for growing with us. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, listen on your favorite podcast app, catch our shorts on TikTok and YouTube. I'm Sean Valley.
And I'm Garrett Gross.
We will see you all next time.